course, this one, what do you notice here? I don't need to do all the talking. What would you talk about if you were writing a paper about this one? Yeah, he's a tourist, but remember, what are we writing about? We're writing about that technique, the stuff you've read about so far. What would you talk about? What we know, I mean, the point is obvious. He's saying that, while we were sitting here watching this film, people were dying in horrible ways. Aren't you glad you're in school? Doesn't that put it in perspective for you? Think of that when you write an essay, when you take a math test. We have huge privilege in these moments, right? I mean, that all over the world things go on. Good things, bad things, these things happen, right? And so his point is, of course, that in 10 minutes a lot can happen, and it may be very different wherever you're at. You may be in the bad place, and there are happy things happening too. You may be in the happy place or the comfortable place. I mean, we're sitting here in this fairly comfortable room. It's not too hot, not too cold, right? Fairly secure. Schools are technically one of the safest places you can be. When you leave and get in a vehicle, you're in one of the most dangerous places you can be in the country. Okay, 10 minutes from your home is even more dangerous. But so his point, that's the point. Okay? But what works in here in terms of technique? What's going on? Just what things do you notice? And it does that both on the way in and on the way out, right? That it uses that clock as transition. So it's using that mise en scene, that decor, using those clocks to show that transition. And it works as a transition not just for the film, but also for us too, because at the end of that, after Memo's gone through all of this, it reminds us 10 minutes. 10 minutes, right? I mean, it comes back and it reminds us of that, and that becomes more powerful. They could have gone back to, the scene in Italy, on the street in Italy, without that, but that going back to that clock keeps us focused on that real thing he's saying, that it only takes a few minutes, either way, whether you're developing film or whatever. What else? Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it's dark. Notice that this is all wood stacked up. I've almost always lived in the desert, so, and that's probably not, it's not even enough for the whole winter. I think that's what I notice in there. But definitely these grayer colors, right? Going from these bright colors. And of course, when we go back to the music, I mean, we've got that music on the street that is just, even without this, that music on the street that this starts with, which is just this, whoops. Come on, give us a little music here. And the sounds of the street, right? That plays a role in all of this. These diegetic sounds on all of it plays a role. But definitely in this part, as it starts moving along to those, where'd the music go? Started with it. There it was. Sorry. So yeah, definitely that shift in color, that shift in the feel. And here, when we go to Sarajevo, when we transition, we'll crank this up in a minute. So there's our music. Happy, happy, happy. And we go to, there's no music there, right? We're just getting the sounds of just life and, daily life. I love this scene because I love it when she grabs the comic book and waxes it. Like, that's such a mom thing to do. Go do your chores, right? And all of this is very much, in terms of the diegesis of this, whether, we see our homes like this or not, right? The idea of just, she's cooking dinner, he's sitting there reading his comic book, telling her kid, go do your chore, entertaining the baby. This is just like very kind of real in that way, very much the reality. Look at that, man, that's mom thing, total mom thing. Check this out when Dad comes in. So we got the baby. You can hear the creaks and the... Whoa, Dad. Right there. See, then we start getting this music. And this music is real soft and gentle, but it's layered behind this whole thing of this just kind of everydayness. And of course, that's another one of his points, too, is that, in a situation of war, I mean, that the everydayness is different, right? Even just having water and bread, those kinds of basic things we think about. So that music comes in and it just kind of follows Memo through most of this. So we get those diegetic sounds, but also that non-diegetic sound. Also, in terms of mise-en-scene, I mean, things like, the wood, we see how kind of beat up and torn up things are. One of my absolute favorites is this. The shoe. How many times have you been driving on the freeway or somewhere and there's like one shoe? And don't you always wonder, it's like, where's the other shoe? I mean, I hope that wasn't somebody throwing out of a car and like their shoe went, right? But it didn't really look like that. There's no skid marks or anything. It's like shoe. Like that's ubiquitous everywhere you go. Every country I've been in, like somewhere there's like one lonely shoe laying around, right? So it's not just war-torn places. It's this very much this kind of simple everyday stuff. Despite that, and of course the graffiti and things like that create all those feelings. So yeah, the colors, even outside, these are much more subtle than these. I mean, even when we get like the outside colors, there's still a kind of a grayer, not as bright, not as light. And of course that sets the mood too. That's what that color is doing, is giving us mood and tone. And then when we follow Memo back, kind of just check out what the camera does in a lot of ways. And it was, hold on, let me go. Let's follow Memo out for a moment. Watch as he goes. See how the camera kind of turns here and he goes downstairs, and the way it follows him, it gives us really his journey in that way. And we're really close to him. A lot of times we're right behind him, so looking over his shoulder. Sometimes we get, him coming forward, going up the stairs more. Check this out. Same kind of thing here. And this closeness to him, really, one, it keeps him, notice he's very much centered in the shot. Keeps him always in that moment. But did you notice there, as it was moving back, notice the camera was moving back too. And when that camera is moving, that gives it more movement, not just Memo moving, but also the camera. And here we definitely get Memo's point of view, right? It's like as if we're seeing through his eyes. So this is that first-person shooter point of view. And here we get that camera and it turns back. So not only Memo coming up the stairs, but also as the camera moves, it is like we are moving as well. And then staying in those tight spaces too. And then, yeah. And then the way Imovak just transitions that, right? There's not even a space in between that tragic moment and then back to this happy music and back to this brightness. So it also becomes kind of almost this moment of shock, too, because that transition is just instantaneous, just so fast with both the music and the color in a lot of ways. Other thoughts?